So something that always annoyed me about superhero shows and movies is the idea that these people with extreme powers, extreme intelligence, who are just different from everybody else on the planet and literally giving gifts that would be the equivalent to gods in ancient cultures, for some reason have to work normal jobs. Oh, I take pictures of myself and I sell them. Oh, I work at the Daily Bugle as Superman. I'm a newsman. It makes no sense. These people have powers to the point to where they'd be able to do something for 1 month, 1 year, and make enough money to literally never have to work again. And it just annoys me. Anyway, that's why the video is made today. Let me not rant about that specifically. Today we're going to create the solution as to how Superman specifically could become a billionaire. And some of these things, some of these solutions would literally take this man less than a day. So one of them would take him a year. Anyway, the first route that we're going to go down, right, the first route we're going to discuss is him basically becoming Homelander. So I just want to get this one out of the way because he's a ethical guy, right? It's Superman we're talking about. He's a good guy. He has no interest in doing anything evil, and it doesn't fit in with this character. But if you wanted to, all he'd have to do is basically create his own vault, his own company, and rent out his services and create a bidding war between the different countries on Earth for who wants him. Literally in 1 year, just half of the U.S. defense budget is $500 billion. So literally if he just did this for 1 year, he would get at least a crumb of that, right? As these countries bid against each other to have Superman on retainer. And imagine if your country had the opportunity to have Superman. All you had to do was spend a few $billion, print a little bit more money so you can afford Superman to be on your military, in your country, protecting you. Obviously, it would go up to past billions of dollars. He'd only have to do this for 1 year, do the contract for 1 year, and, the man's done. The man never has to go back to being a newspaper, whatever, ever again, which makes no sense. Even that job specifically just is the least fitting for Superman, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is, I guess. I don't know, whatever. You think a man with 200 IQ, right? Because Kryptonians are all extremely intelligent, would come up with a better way to make money. But no, he wants to be a newspaper dude. So because that's not like Superman, we got to get into more ethical ways that he'd go about making more money. More ways that are justified, that are completely okay, and in no way violate the laws of the world or make people turn against him potentially. Here is the number one way for him to literally become a billionaire in a day. So there was an asteroid that flew by the world in 1984, and there are more like this. But that asteroid alone was estimated to be worth $4 trillion. 100 metric tons of platinum and 10,000 tons of gold were on it, plus billions of tons of iron and nickel. If that man would have went up there, punched off a little piece of that asteroid, which he could probably catch, considering he's a speedster and he can fly extremely fast. If he went to any of these asteroid belts, punched off a little piece of asteroid and brought it back to Earth, slowly distributed it into the world economy or sold it to a government, instant billionaire. Instantaneous billionaire, no rules were broken, completely ethical, he's not breaking any rules. Why wouldn't he do this? Why instead of doing this would he act like he needs to go work at a newspaper job? And I understand maybe he enjoys the normality of being seen like a normal human when he puts on his glasses and goes to work, okay? That makes sense. But in terms of him not actually having the capital there, him not being richer than Batman, that one doesn't make sense to me. That one doesn't make sense. So if you took a whole asteroid, or that entire asteroid we were talking about specifically, $4 trillion, if you took just a chunk, easy billionaire. But let's get into more easy ways. Let's assume that he, for some reason, has a problem with going to an asteroid and stealing, I guess, the metal from an asteroid that's completely unclaimed. How else could he become a billionaire? And this one goes kind of back to Homelander. He could literally just sell merchandise and give 90% of the profits to a non-profit or charity. So if he sold his merchandise and he trademarked himself, which he'd be able to do since he is the Superman, and I'm sure there are already people making collectively billions of dollars considering this man's the number one superhero on Earth, and he sold that merchandise around the world, sold his names, did little advertisements here and there, right? Instead of whatever he's doing, instead of working at the news company, this man would be a billionaire so quick. And by giving 90 to 99% of the money to charities and to organizations around the world that help people, he would get away from the guilt he might feel from selling his identity or selling merchandise, which he might have some moral or ethical dilemma against. So very, very easy. He'd be helping tons of people by doing it. And there are already people making tons of money off of the Superman brand, off of the Superman name. So why would he not do this? Next, similar to the Homelander route, but less evil, less unethical, just private security gigs. Something extremely valuable has to be transported from one part of the world to the other. Instead of hiring an entire crew or team, you hire one man. And if this dude just charged $500,000 for one-day gigs, he would be rich enough to not have to do anything else or work more than a single day out of the entire year. Then he could dedicate all of his time to saving people and doing what he loves most. Why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you do this? Please, somebody help me. Please, somebody explain to me why this wouldn't be an immediate thing that he desired to do. Next, if he wanted to not go to the asteroid to get stuff, he could use his X-ray vision and literally mine around the Earth himself to see where the greatest ore deposits are. And he can literally ask any government, any nation, to give him a loan to start the business or buy the land in that location so he could start his mining operations. Once again, very, very quick. This wouldn't be a one-day process, of course, unless he himself was going in there and digging, which he could do considering he's basically a speedster. But billions of dollars, $1 billion operation that only Superman can do. Of course, we could go on and on, but I think I've given you enough free tips, right, Superman? I think I've given him enough ideas as to how he can get out of the newsroom and not have to do any of that anymore at any point. But the next one is very, very simple, right? He could create a planetary defense company, meaning that he's paid collectively by the United Nations or by all the nations collectively every year to defend the planet. And once again, that one's a little bit more unethical, so maybe it would go in kind of the evil Superman category. But this last one is the absolute easiest. Using his speed abilities or using his heat vision, he could either heat up water to turn a turbine to create energy, or he himself could run really fast around a turbine and create energy. He could be a one-man energy company and probably turn that turbine so many times that he creates enough energy for like a year in a town. For months in a town, just off of a few hours of running in circles. So, once again, these superheroes, I might do another video like this on other superheroes, tell me if you want me to, but these superheroes, there's no reason for them to be working these stupid jobs that don't even fit their personality, or use their powers in any creative way. Superman specifically could be a billionaire by day's end if he really, really desired to. That's all.